I mean, there's a thing that I've done a couple of times when I've done these types of shows after Ravens losses, KZ, and that's where I say, with very few exceptions, almost nothing that anyone's going to say am I going to tell them that they're wrong about. There's going to be a lot of stuff said, and at halftime I told a lot of people I disagreed. Post-game, there's going to be very few things I'm going to tell anybody they're wrong about. And that's just the way it is. The unthinkable occurring tonight in Baltimore. I mean, I just genuinely saw no way that this was going to happen, but I mean, it's football, man. Sometimes things happen that you just don't see coming, and tonight the Ravens will see the greatest season in team history come to an end at the hands of the Tennessee Titans in the divisional round. Glenn Clark, Ken Zalis with you on the Project Game Day postgame show from the Live Casino Hotel studio. There is plenty to unpack about what happened tonight. And, you know, it's always the macro versus the micro, right? There's a lot of micro, KZ, about what happened specifically tonight.
Yes.
That if we played this game again next week, wouldn't happen. If we played this game again on Tuesday, wouldn't happen. But it happened tonight. And that's all that matters, because tonight was what determined the fate of the season.
Yep. It everything that I guess you kind of feared going in of, were they going to be rusty? Could they continue not to turn the ball over? Could they continue their dominance on 3rd and 4th down as they showed all year? None of that went the Ravens' way tonight. I'm really going to try to be very calm this evening.
I don't need you to be calm.
No, I do.
No. This is where I think there are things, because this is where the micro separates from the macro, right? So the micro is there's things that happened tonight that I don't think are an indication of who the Ravens are. I don't think it's an indication of where the Ravens are going, anything along those lines. And those things are infuriating. They're enraging, right? But you know, that's football. That's the nature of football. There's things in the macro, right, that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to look. We're not going to like this. I said this, and it got a lot of people going on Twitter tonight, and Torrey Smith was getting in on it. We're going to have to deal with the fact that this is the narrative now with Lamar Jackson. We have to deal with that. That doesn't mean it's his story. It doesn't mean this kid's 23 years old. He's got a long time to be a good NFL postseason quarterback. But we're going to have to deal with an entire offseason where there's going to be a boatload of people telling us, you know, sure, that's all well and good. He's a bad playoff quarterback. And the reality is, as of today, they're right. Today, they're right.
Today, they are right. But it's not it's not all him, and that's the narrative for everybody that's been waiting all year. All the LJ haters, they've been waiting in the weeds all year, and they haven't had an opportunity.
And those people are the easiest to dismiss.
But here's my problem with this team, and I'm going to call it a team. The team wasn't ready to play tonight. The team wasn't. The game plan was awful.
Well, I agree with that part, but I think it's easy to say that based on how things occurred. They came out and got a pretty quick stop defensively, and then they were marching down the field offensively, looking like.
So let me ask you a question, okay? Because when I say they're not prepared, they weren't prepared to play tonight, I take that into the game planning and things like that, and the positions they were put into. This is 2 years in a row that this coaching staff, and people will say, well, different offensive coordinator, blah, 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 blah. It's run by the same people. This coaching staff went into the playoffs with a game plan and never deviated from the game plan until it was too late. I don't know why they came in with this game plan tonight to expose. Yeah. They ran the ball well all year long, and you're going to tell me because Mark Ingram was banged up, we saw Gus Edwards
on his first touch ran for 30 yards. I get it.
He didn't touch the ball again.
Right.
Again.
I know.
In the first half, they were averaging over 5 yards a carry with their running backs. They ran 7 times. Every time the Ravens lose, apparently, you can look at the stats and say, okay, Why didn't they run the ball? Why did they get away from running the ball? Then they come out in the second half in a one-score game, and they're throwing all over the place.
And I think that's where you and I, this is the only place where you and I separate.
Okay.
What I think happens, and this I think dates back, to the dawn of the John Harbaugh era, is what happens in game situations. And I don't think it's a unique John Harbaugh problem. I think there is a boatload, for whatever reason,
boatload of bad coaches.
Football coaches seem to operate poorly once things don't go the way that they would plan them to. There's only a handful that seem to handle it fairly well. Where I would disagree is I don't know that was the game plan tonight. I think that after they had a couple of things go wrong, they threw up all over themselves.
Well, that's panicked. A problem.
I agree with that.
That's a huge problem.
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
You're down 14-0 to a team that the only reason they had 14 points is because your Pro Bowl tight end, needs to catch the football on a throw. Look, it's not the perfect throw. Every throw is not going to be perfect. Catch the football. You get two hands on a football, catch the football. And then you went for it on fourth down. Again, I know that's who they are and everything, but I'm sorry, playoffs are different than the regular season. You can't coach playoff games the way you do week 8 when you're 6-2 and running away with the division. You can't run it. You can't just do it the same way. It's worked all year, so we're going
to talk a lot about that. There's going to be a lot of second guessing of that. I'm going to tell you I disagree, but I don't think it's a problem to second guess it.
The only way the Titans scored in the first half is on short fields. Okay?
Sure.
You gave them short fields.
Sure.
When they had to go the length of the field, you stopped them. Did they get a first down here and there? Sure. But you stopped them. They couldn't sustain drives. You acted like you were down 100-0.
I know. But they kind of always have. They kind of always have.
And now, welcome to
I'm not your whole thing. I'm not doing it.
No, I'm not doing
that. But yes, it's always been a problem.
This is my problem.
Right. It's always been a problem.
Feel for the game, feel for the moment, clock management, and just abandoning and everything you do and do well. They ran so few RPOs in the first half. Where was Alan Ricard? Alan Ricard has been
Patrick Ricard.
I'm sorry. I know.
I don't know where Alan Ricard is. Let's try to call him.
He's been a huge part of their offense all year.
Yes.
I didn't even see him on the field on the offensive side of the ball.
I don't remember seeing any Patrick Ricard.
What the things I understand that of course the Titans are going to come in game plan to stop Lamar. No, everybody's been trying to stop Lamar. He hasn't been able to be stopped. But you don't even try. You didn't do anything. This is not the team that played 16 games of regular season.
Not from that point. Again, everything up until the interception, everything up until that moment felt like every other Ravens game that I've watched all season.
Right.
I literally
going down the field, to score.
I mean, I did the goofy thing, which everybody's going to be mad at me, but I did the goofy thing. I said, okay, well, this is it. This is how the game goes. This is what the Ravens do. They get a defensive stop. That was the Titans' chance. That was their opportunity to try to make a statement. They didn't do it. Now the Ravens are marching down the field, and it's full steam ahead, and they're the Ravens that we've come to know and love. And from the moment of the interception, they vomited all over themselves, mom spaghetti, the whole bit. It was painful
I'm tired
to
of
watch.
It.
I hear you. I don't really know what you're
2015 on.
I mean, I don't know what you think you're getting out of that.
I don't know, but it's 2015 on. You're not getting anything.
I don't know what you're getting out
people
of that.
Here, it's so maddening because people are talking, because Cowher went into the Hall of Fame before the game. They're like, oh, well, Harbaugh's right behind him. It's like, oh, please stop.
Well, I mean, his resume would be remarkably similar.
I know.
And
there are 17 other coaches that deserve to go in.
All right, let's get to some comments. From Josh Stroker, our buddy from Section 336, is yes, now it's officially over. Most disappointing loss in Ravens history. A lot of people talking about that. Obviously, the immediate comparison, of course, is to the Colts game, and that I think for a generation that doesn't understand what that day was all about, there's no way. I think for the people that understand what that day was all about, like Andrew Stecker made the argument, this team is better than that team was. I agree with that.
I agree with that. But for the town,
it was the most important day in Baltimore history at that point. And so nothing can compare to that day. But as far as reality, I definitely thought, I was hard pressed to imagine a scenario where this team didn't win the Super Bowl this year. I genuinely had this, I don't know how they're not winning the Super Bowl feeling. So, yeah, I mean, from that standpoint, I get it. Scott, they clearly weren't prepared to play, and I don't know why. Again, I think that we're reaching there. I think we're reaching on they're not prepared to play. They weren't prepared, or they didn't handle.
They weren't prepared for anything to go wrong.
Correct. And this is something that, in fairness, we talked about all throughout the course of the season. And it's something that we didn't like dealing with, but we would have these questions. We would phrase them all sorts of different ways. We would say things like, hey, what happens if they fall behind by multiple scores and they're forced? And the big thing for me is, what happens when they don't have everything at their disposal? And that's what's made the Ravens so particularly good all season, is they have gone into every situation literally being able to look at the playbook and say, any of it. Any of it. Call any effing play you want, because they have been in they've been so far ahead of schedule.
Right.
You didn't even have time to put the appointment in your book before they had already canceled it. That's how far ahead of schedule they were. And it wasn't about whether or not they were capable of scoring a lot of points. It was about what happens when you're not dealing with that, because they never had to. And unfortunately, the first time they did, they pissed down their legs. That's the reality. They pissed down their legs. Would that be the case? Again, if they had another game to play next week and the same thing occurred, I don't know what would happen.
Well, if they got down 14-0,
I wouldn't feel great about it. Yeah,
I'd expect the same thing, because again, this is not. I understand how great they were last year, and when I say this, I mean this wholeheartedly. This team brought back fun to football in this town.
Right.
I mean, football, they've won before. They were boring. Well, let's just say what it was. They were boring.
I never cared about that.
They were deep.
I was the guy that couldn't believe that everybody would get worked up about that. Be boring forever.
I know.
Be boring
forever. You can be boring when you're winning.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, when you're boring and you're losing,
right, win.
You're
That's
boring.
What I cared about. Yes.
Okay.
Go win.
Now they were fun and they were winning and. I don't think that this team is taking a step back. I don't think this was a 1 year, they had a magical year. I think this team is good. I think they'll continue to build.
Yeah.
I think they have a lot of good young players.
Well, they've got a quarterback.
Well,
that really
Marquise
is.
Brown is a good player. Andrews and Hurst are good players. They have some good young offensive linemen. They have
but if they had all those things and didn't have a quarterback, I wouldn't feel this way. The difference is they have a quarterback.
I agree with that. But yes, they have a quarterback, but they also hopefully will continue to build around that quarterback, and hopefully it evolves.
I've been waiting for that for a long time.
Well, but last year they did. I mean, they've added 5 offensive weapons over a 2-year period.
I hope
it continues.
They continue specifically at the wide receiver position.
I said that to somebody today where we talked about that.
Yes.
I had a little discussion.
No, I don't think that anybody believes the window is closing. Now, I think we need to do the thing that we always need to do, which is that crazy things happen in football, and there's plenty of people that, again, I don't want to make a comparison to anything that happened with Robert Griffin III, because that's unfair. The dude got hurt.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of people that couldn't fathom a world in which that franchise wasn't going to succeed for the next decade.
Yes.
Things happen in football.
I agree.
And there is still a chance that we look back on this and this was their chance. There is a possibility that in 10 years we will be sitting here. I mean, obviously you'll be basically dead at that point, but we'll be sitting here.
I couldn't figure out how to get the headphones on earlier.
It was a really awkward moment.
It was really terrible.
It was a really awkward moment. There is a chance
after 11
that we will be sitting here in 10 years and we'll say that was the one. That was the year. I don't think that's the case. I think that they'll be competitive year in and year out for some time, as long as this kid continues to get better and stays healthy. But it's gonna sting. All right, let me try to get to some more comments. Josh, I don't understand about Harbaugh's why the Ravens stopped running the ball after they fell behind early. Look, we're all in agreement. We're all in agreement on that. Bobby, I remember all of the heat fans gave Flacco, but oh god, are we doing this?
We're doing it.
At least he never went 1 and done in the playoffs. Jackson 0-2 in the playoffs. Okay. We're not going to do a Flacco Jackson thing.
No,
we're not going to do it. We're just not going to do it. Now, look, again, as I said, we're going to have to deal with this. We're going to have to deal with the reality of Lamar Jackson today, being he's the NFL MVP, and he has not been a good playoff quarterback, period.
He wasn't helped today.
No, nobody is saying today the Ravens lost because of Lamar Jackson alone. If you're saying that, you're stupid.
Yes.
But you can't escape from he didn't play well today.
He did not.
And he ended up putting up some numbers up in the second half when they just had to throw the ball a billion times, and so somebody tried to
set another record.
Stop it. Lamar Jackson was part of the problem today. Period. He was part of the problem today. There's no getting around that. And when you play poorly and you lose, that Look, if either thing can happen. You can either play poorly and win anyway. That's how Peyton Manning won 2 Super Bowls. Don't know if you guys paid attention. He played poorly and yet he won anyway, and he got to win 2 Super Bowls that way. Or you can play well. If next week they go and play the Chiefs and it's a 45-42 classic and it's a slug-em-out game and the Chiefs happen to win at the end, nobody's walking away at the end and saying, boy, this guy's a terrible playoff quarterback. When did we know Joe Flacco was a really good playoff quarterback? When they lost to the Patriots.
Correct.
Because he outplayed Tom Brady that day. That was where it changed. It's just the problem is they've lost and he hasn't played well, and that's the reality that we have to deal with at this point. I still think he's a damn good quarterback. From Paul, well, I guess now I kind of know how the Colts fans felt during the Manning years. Great stats and record in the regular season, and then running into a brick wall in the playoffs. If that's what we're dealing with, if we get that for 10 years, by the way.
I'll take Peyton Manning right now in his prime for 10 years. I'll take it.
I'll take my chances on that. I'll take my chances that at some point it'll goof into the way that it goofed into for Peyton Manning. That at some point things will break the right way because you keep being competitive every year.
Every year.
And you give yourself a chance. I'll deal with that. Tony, game plan was a joke. Harbaugh has some questions to answer.
He won't answer any of them.
I mean, he'll say something. I don't know exactly what
he'll say something. He'll say lots of somethings. He won't answer any questions.
Look, we will.
He'll congratulate the Titans and blah, 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 blah.
Correct. Yeah. The biggest stuff that we pointed out will be the 4th and 1 decisions and calls. There'll be plenty of people who say, I'm fine with the decision. I hated the call. Particularly the second one.
So let's, since we brought that up now.
Right.
I hated the first go on fourth on. I didn't like it. I thought at the time the only way the Titans, they scored on the short field, pin them back. Your defense was playing pretty well, not allowing Derrick Henry to run at that point wild. I would have liked to see him punt there. Didn't happen. Also didn't like the play call, but that's besides the point. Didn't mind the second one, as much because of where we were in the game and stuff like that. Again, hated the play call. Didn't do what they've been doing all year on those types of plays. I also disagreed with the going for it. I would have taken the 3 points to cut it to a 5-point lead at that point.
I think you need
to get points mentally for your team.
I think there's a better argument for that than for the first one. I think that the argument of game situation is stronger when you're trailing by 8 in the second half. I think that you can make the more compelling argument of, hey, game situation needs to outweigh analytics at some point. And I think because of that, when you're trailing 14-6 in the second half, when you seem to have the momentum a bit, there's no reason to give them momentum back. When you built something before the half, where you put together stole some points there before halftime, when you came out, you started. I can make that argument. The first one, I'm going to go back. We had this conversation a lot during the course of the season. I talked to a lot of football people about, everything the Ravens are doing. Can they continue to do this when their life is on the line, when their backs are against the wall? And I kept hearing more and more from people who said if they don't, it would create such a problem for the team that you literally change your identity. You go from who you've been for the entirety of a season and suddenly decide in a moment, but we're not going to be that team anymore, that it could completely wreck the mentality of a football team. Now, some of those things I roll my eyes at too, Ken, right? I roll my eyes at and say, right, if you're that fragile, you were going to lose anyway. If you're so fragile that one decision to punt the ball wrecks you, then you were going to lose a football game anyway. But I don't really have a problem with the team deciding this is who we are, this is who we're going to be, period, full stop. I don't know if you guys paid attention. We went 8 for 8 on 4th and 1 during the course of the season.
And again,
we have every reason to believe we're going to go get this thing.
And a friend of mine texted me, why are you going for it? I was like, because you haven't watched Ravens football. That's what they do.
Right.
They've done it all year
and
long.
They've done it wildly successfully.
And I said they were successful, and I didn't have the 8 out of 8, but I said they were really successul. I said, to me, my problem is it's like, and I get what you're saying, that you're changing your identity, but the playoffs are different. It's just you have to manage them differently, and I just again, playing the New York Jets when you're already in the playoffs and you're doing fun stuff like that, or playing the Pittsburgh Steelers with your backups and deciding to go for a fake punt when you're up by 20 points. Okay, that's fun, great. Okay, that's fine. The playoffs are different. You have to you're down 14-0. Your job is to get back in the game first. And I just you have to have a feel. You just felt like things were not going right. Let's get back to some semblance of order, and not give them a short field.
I give that argument more credence.
Let's not give them a short field. We're down 7-0. Let's pin them. We stopped them before. I just. And it's not, to me, it's just, I'm not this way in my fantasy football stuff. I am not an analytics guy. And I said, I just won't be. I understand.
But I think it goes beyond analytics, Ken. I really do. I think that I think analytics is why you started doing it. I think you do it in that moment because you just say, we've been so effing good at it all year long that there's no reason. There's no world in my mind in which they lined up for that 4th and 1 that I didn't think they were picking it up. There's no world where I didn't think they were going to go and get that conversion.
I agree with you there because they've been successful on it. To me it always comes down, and I talk about it, clock feel situation. I didn't feel like we had to go for it there. And look,
yeah, I mean
that's not why they lost the game and things like that. The end of the first half, I thought the clock management was absolutely horrendous. And I know it kind of worked out because of the. Great pass, great catch. Only place
an insane decision that worked out perfectly.
It just worked out perfectly. But all along they're going to. I was like, are we trying to score or what are we? It's one of those things where it's.
It goes back to the panic of
it does.
They just panicked when things didn't go their way,
and that's been my problem. That's been my problem with this coaching staff for a long time. And that's where it all comes down to. It's like that they panic. It's like if our game plan today is good enough to beat you, we're going to beat you. And if it's not, we're going to go away from everything we've done successful and panic when we're down with a reasonable amount of time and point differential. And I don't even know how many official rushes the running backs wound up with.
Yeah,
but it was 7 in the first half, and late in the fourth, I thought when I came in, I said they'd only run 9 times.
Yeah, I know.
With the running backs.
It was a staggering number. I agree with that. It was a staggering, stunning number.
You're down 1 score coming out of the half. I don't understand how the conversation at halftime is not, you know what? Everything that could have gone wrong in this half has gone wrong, but you know something? We're only
one possession game and we got the ball.
One possession game, we have the ball. Let's get back to playing Ravens football. Let's go, team. Done. And they come out, throw.
All right.
Throw.
All right.
Throw.
I hear you. Need groceries today, but don't have time to shop. Order online with same-day pickup or delivery at Wise Markets. Wise to go online now. That's convenient. Paul, receivers cannot get open. They had 10 seconds that one play, and they could not get open. It's pathetic. That was a big story today, too. Agreed. It was a big story. Receivers, this was not a pass protection problem. There was plenty of pass protection all throughout the course of the day. Some of the run blocking was, I don't even actually think the run blocking was the problem. You were doing something about that at halftime. I had no idea what game you were watching. The run blocking seemed to be there at times. It's just that they, 1, didn't run the ball, and then 2, like, for example, on the 4th down play, why were you not running behind your pulling guard?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing there?
I agree. The reason I mentioned that at the halftime is
the pass protection was great. He had all the time in the world.
I thought the pass protection was a little uneven, especially on 3rd down.
Oof.
I thought he got forced out of the pocket a couple of times. I thought there were guys in his face that made him rush a couple of times. It wasn't the same pass protection I was used to seeing all year where he literally could do anything he wanted for as long as he wanted.
There were a lot of plays like that today. There were a lot of plays like that.
But it was uneven to me. I think it was 50-50 in the first half. I thought it was a little worse than you thought it was.
I thought the pass protection was honestly great today.
I thought Macari was
like
awful.
As the game, I have to go back and look more individually at him.
And Casey's a really good football player.
I'm not sure. He's a damn good football player.
But I think he absolutely destroyed him today.
I'd have to go back and see more of that. I'd have to go back and look at that more. I really did think that they had a lot of time. I thought the bigger problem was, frankly, the guys were not getting open. And look, again, this goes back to one of the bigger issues, which is they don't have good wide receivers. They've got a good wide receiver who has an injury problem. Like, they've got a good wide receiver who they need to deal with the fact that there's enough there at this point with Marquise Brown to think that you can't just assume he's going to be healthy and play 16 games every season. There's enough in his life. I get it. He's only been in the NFL for 1 year, but in his life.
But this was a concern coming into the.
There's enough that you can't just say, well, we definitely have one. Okay, well, you got a guy that when he's on the field, he's good. But it's sort of like counting on Jimmy Smith to play 16 games, right? Like, you need to realize that you need to be deep. Because not only do you need to have more than one, but there's probably going to be plenty of times where that one guy isn't on the field, unfortunately. That's the reality of what you're dealing with.
I'm so bad about the whole HWO thing, but you people tweeting, my God, give it a rest, some of you.
What?
Just some of the people.
Well, I'm not. If you're doing the Flacco thing,
I'm not doing the Flacco thing.
No, that's been the thing. That's the only thing tonight that I have no patience for tonight is doing a Flacco.
I just saw a couple of that.
That's the only thing that like I don't really have time to entertain tonight is people just doing a Joe Flacco bit, and I wouldn't do it the other way either. You know what I mean? Like this is people
like Lamar's the only quarterback that's ever gone started a career 0-2 in the playoffs. Get over it. Just get over it.
Look, I disagree with that part of it. It's not that dismissible to me. I disagree with that. It's not that dismissible to me.
But it's in year 2. Okay, I mean if he goes 5 years and if he's Andy Dalton, go at it.
Well, I mean,
but you know what I mean. If he could never win in the playoffs, I'm with it. But it's just too early for me.
It's too early to say this is his story. Period.
Exactly.
It's too early for that. It's not too early to say this is a real thing that he's going to have to deal with.
I look at too early plays that if they go the other way, we're not having this conversation. Was it a perfect pass? No. Andrew's been catching that ball all year. Catch the ball. There's no interception. They probably go down, score. At least they get 3 because they're in field goal range. Seth Roberts, catch the freaking ball, hit you in the hand in stride. Those 2 plays.
Okay, but don't throw the ball behind Willie Snead either.
But I understand that.
It's all of the above.
But I understand that. But they credit the receivers with something like 6 or 7 drops today.
And the receivers weren't good. Nobody's arguing that.
It's like, just stop.
But he didn't play particularly well either. He didn't really play well. And that's. I can't let a guy off the hook. I can't just say.
I'm not letting him off the hook.
All we've done. Lamar Jackson has been brilliant. He's been amazing. He's been otherworldly. He's looked like one of the great players in the history of football. But we have to deal with the reality of today. He didn't play well.
He didn't play well, and his coaching staff and wide receivers.
A lot of guys didn't play well tonight. No arguing that.
Lamar Jackson should never throw the ball 59 times in a game. Ever.
I agree with that.
Again, ever.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Unless it's the Pro Bowl. Maybe he'll throw 59 times in the Pro Bowl.
Don't really want him doing that either, to be honest with you. Don't really think that's smart. Scott, they hardly did any RPOs, and that was before the game got out of hand. It was certainly a questionable thing.
Agreed.
Andrew Stecca with a double dip. First, this is worse than 15-6. It's a better team than that one. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
Look, it is a better team, no doubt. But you have
to remember what it was like. I mean, it was just.
Well, it's twofold. You have to have experienced it.
It was the Colts. It was who we were playing.
Right.
It was the whole build up. It was the 19-0 with the United. It was just so much. I mean, so much built into that, and it was such a thud. And I know
there'll never be a day like that. There'll never be a day like that. I mean,
this is utterly disappointing. It really, really is. But I don't know which one is worse. I think if you were.
Well, today's was worse because it's happened today.
But if you remember, I mean, I still have those T-shirts and all that in my house.
It was pure hell. It was the darkest day that our city could ever experience.
Just a thud like no other thud ever.
He also double dipped and said that he's really sad because he was going to come visit us next week. Well,
you can still come visit.
Yeah, I don't really know if I would. I mean, if I lived in Phoenix, I don't think I'd be in a race to fly to Baltimore in late January if there's no football game.
It's 60 degrees right now. Who knows what it'll be? It could be 83. It could be 83 next
after
week.
It's 3 on Wednesday. Paul, John Harbaugh is a good coach. He's not a great coach. All right, this is your guy. You're going to deal with him.
I apologize to my people on Twitter earlier. I will never again, because I have defended John Harbaugh this year more than I ever have, because people were talking about like he wasn't coach of the year and things like that, and he just was. You know, he did regular season. He But these things pop their head up, and when they pop their head up, I have to be reminded of who I know he is.
It's been, and I will give you that.
He you know, look, the whole analytics thing, I crushed him. And everybody told me I was wrong, and they went crazy with the analytics in Kansas City after I scored the first touchdown, and ridiculous 2-point conversion tried it failed. It just made no sense in the world to me. But from that point on, everything they did was magic. They had the golden goose the rest of the year. So who am I to argue with it? I can only argue till I'm blue in the face so many times. But now here we are, and this game reminded me again is why this coach is maddening to me, because he has no feel for the game. They don't know when to adjust. They abandon things that they know how to do too quickly, and clock and feel for the game just eludes him. He is not a good in-game manager. When you have Lamar Jackson running against the Jets or who else stunk this year that they played, Cincinnati and Cleveland, you got all it's fine. It's fine. It's easy to do. It's easy to they
beat the really good teams too.
They did. They were terrific this year, and Lamar was terrific this year. But he won a Super Bowl because he had a quarterback that was on a freaking roll like we've never seen in forever, and he had 2 leaders on defense that are the best leaders ever in football. And they won a Super Bowl that way. And if it was 5 seconds,
I think that was the third most of. They had a quarterback who had the best run ever, and they had a wide receiver that they decided to cast off immediately.
Okay, well that's all part of it. Who they didn't replace for 10 years.
Part of the story, and I do. But that part I agree with.
But this is who he is as a coach, folks. This is who he is. This is the same guy that should have been fired if Joe Flacco didn't get hurt. Half his paycheck every 2 weeks should go to Lamar Jackson. Thank God he has a job in the NFL right now.
Well,
it's the only reason.
He would have had a job in the NFL.
Great, he could have been a special teams coordinator again.
He would have been hired for another
head coaching job. Make bad decisions for some other team.
They went 14-2.
I don't care. They're 0-1. They went 14-3. And then you know what? The 3 is the only thing that matters. And you know why they're 14-3? Because they can't coach his way out of a paper bag.
Look, here's where I will agree with you. It is all the in-game coaching stuff.
3 holes in it.
The in-game coaching stuff has always been a problem. It's always been a problem. The problem for me is that it's really hard for me to judge it because I don't know that there are more than 2 good in-game coaches in the entire NFL. And
those guys don't coach my team.
I know. I understand.
They don't coach my team. I don't have to live through it every year.
Right, I need to hose Ken down for a second.
Because they did it to me this year. They had me doubting. They had me saying, "Oh, maybe I was wrong," and I'm not wrong. He's a terrible football coach when it comes to a game. He's a great manager of men. Everybody plays hard for him. As soon as something goes wrong, this is what we get.
That part I agree with. He is
every time.
He has not coached well when they have had their backs against the wall. That I agree with that. When they have and even when the backs against the wall.
How many times have they been backs against the wall since Lamar became quarterback? Twice. He's 0-2.
No. More
0-2.
More than that.
No.
No. They did. More than that.
The Cleveland game, they just stunk.
Well, their backs were definitely against the wall.
Well, they weren't against the wall. They were just. I'll even give John Harbaugh a pass on that game. It was the only bad game they played all year till today.
Yeah. Well, it was their worst game. Actually, his coaching was far worse in the Kansas City game, just because they had an insane game plan. Their game plan was absolutely nuts. But yeah, I hear you. All right, give me 2 minutes to let Ken hose down for a second. Then we'll come back
Andrew
in.
Stecca, you can't stand agreeing with me.
We'll get through. Oh, you guys. We will get through the rest of the comments, and we come back in. Season's over. I can't believe this is the case. There are a lot of people that have made a lot of economic investments that are. This is really bad news for a lot of people, but we'll continue to deal with it. It's the Project Game Day postgame show from the Live Casino Hotel studio.
This is Stan the Fan. You know we're all hoping for a special season out of our football team. When it comes to dining out casually and affordably, I know a place is special every season. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. Not only are they known all over for their great steamed crabs and crab cakes, they have a couple specials you want to keep in mind. Monday night is crab cake night. Tuesday night is ribs night. Wednesday night is steak night, partnered with half-priced bottles of your favorite wines. And Thursday night is lobster night. So check out the Costas Inn Inn this football season, and you may come back whatever the season. That's the Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard, 410-477-1975.
Need groceries today but don't have time to shop? Order online with same-day pickup or delivery at Wise Markets. Wise to go online. Now that's convenient.
This is Stan the Fan for Glen Burnie Transmissions, located right in the heart of Glen Burnie for almost 60 years. If you suspect you're having a transmission problem, GBT can save you hundreds of dollars over taking it to the dealers for a repair. Make an appointment for a free diagnostic and estimate. Call GBT at 855-728-1841. Their mission is simple: to provide excellent service at a reasonable price. Go to their website at gbt-online.com to check out all of the 5-star reviews. Let my friend Mark Schwartzman and his GBT team take the troubles out of transmission troubles. Call them today at 855-728-1841.
If you're looking to make an impact, there's no better place to do that than the U.S. Army. Whether your goal is to fight and cure deadly diseases, develop technologies, or seek adventures across the globe, the Army is where all of that can happen, and so much more. The Army is a team of 1 million individuals working together to take on the most complex problems in the nation and the world, and to win. Ask yourself, what's your warrior? Go to army.com/Baltimore to find out. To learn more, contact your local Army recruiter and find us on social media at U.S. Army Baltimore.
Catch all the action at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill, where we have tons of TVs to catch every moment of every game. Enjoy $6.99 burgers on Mondays, $5.99 nachos on Thursdays, and drink specials throughout the season to help you cheer on your favorite teams. Come in today and try something new from our seasonal menu. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
All right, we continue on the Project Game Day postgame show. Look, I will forever be perplexed by the Mark Ingram factor in this. Like, I will forever be perplexed because I don't know that we'll ever fully have the answer of just how healthy he was, just how much they knew about how healthy he was. Like, there's some gray area here they devised a game plan that might have leaned on the idea that, hey, we know Mark Ingram's a little bit banged up, right? We know that. And if they knew that, why didn't they just say, hey, it's not going to be your night tonight, guy? Like, we've got another guy who averages 6 yards every time he touches the ball. But we're going to go with that guy.
Okay,
I'm so lost.
I'm lost in it too because
and if that's not the case, if they genuinely been playing positive, they thought for 100% that Mark Ingram was fully healthy. There's not that every layer of that situation will leave me perplexed forever.
So it's funny. I was talking,
and I mean this in I really wonder if they might not have just been better off if on Monday we all had sat down and said Mark Ingram can't go this week. I just wonder if the entire week wouldn't have been better that way.
But here's okay. So 2 things. When he practiced, what was it, Thursday? Was their last practice?
Yes, that was their last practice.
Somebody I published on Friday the DFS thing, and I put Edwards in my DFS lineup, and a guy messaged me and goes, "You don't believe in Mark Ingram?" I said, "I don't believe he's healthy," and I said, I'm not going to be stunned if he's inactive.
Right.
I wasn't stunned that he was a practice participant because you want the Titans to think he was active. But even if he is active, I said he's a 50-50 time split with Gus Edwards because he hasn't practiced in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So you've had
3 weeks.
3 weeks. You've had Gus Edwards as your lead back in practice for 3 weeks. Why should it have mattered whether he was in, out, whether he got hurt on the first play, second play? Gus Edwards should have been a huge part of this game plan. He took every snap.
He's been really good.
And
he's ever since Gus Edwards has become a Ravens running back, he's been outstanding.
Yeah.
This isn't like some guy that you have question marks about.
He ran the ball the first time he touched it, he threw it for 19 yards. Guess how many touches he had after the 19-yard touch in the first half?
I know.
1!
I know.
I'll use yours. 1!
I hear you, man. I'll never understand it.
He rushed for 2 yards on that one, so he was 2 carries for 21 yards.
The impact that this had, whatever, in the entirety of it, the how healthy was he, the how much did they know of how healthy? Is it a thing where like he duped them into thinking that he was healthier than he was? Like every layer of this will eternally confuse me and perplex me.
Okay, so let's say he duped them. Let's say, okay, he's healthy. He didn't finish the first half of the football game. He had a wrap on. Then they have some cockamamie thing that they're showing on the sideline, some massage thing that's on the end of
I want one of those.
On the end of a power drill.
I need me one of those.
He's not healthy, folks. Use the guys that are healthy.
Son of a bitch, Eric Arditi. You jerk. You're not allowed to come on here. He's a Titans fan. What did he say? No, he just said sup. Because he's a jerk. Because he's a Titans fan and he's feeling good about himself.
Well, good for you.
All right.
I hope Kansas City killed you. No,
calm down.
I really don't.
I actually don't know. I don't know how I'll feel next week. I really don't. I have no idea.
I'm going to feel awful if Houston wins tomorrow.
Oh my God,
I'm just going to feel awful. I'm just going to feel awful.
Right? Paul, I hope the Ravens are able to bring in Clowney or some other defensive ends that can hold the damn edge. It was painful watching Ferguson and others constantly whiffing on tackles. Look, I mean, Derrick Henry's made a lot of people look bad this season, and frankly, every second half of every season that he played in. They do have a problem there, clearly. They have a problem there.
Stop it. Derrick Henry didn't do a god darn thing in this football game until the second half.
Well, I mean, he did his worst work.
A darn thing in the football game until the second half. They had him bottled up, and then you're in desperation mode, and the defense was on the field for 28 minutes. They haven't been on the field for 28 minutes all year.
Okay, but they have
on a warm day. That they're not. No, I'm serious.
I hear you.
You're looking at me like that doesn't matter.
No, I think there's two different things that are going on here. Was that the story of what happened tonight? Not necessarily, no. They took advantage of a couple of things. Derrick Henry did have a good drive on their first touchdown drive. He did have. He was
short field.
No, he wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like it was that. You're saying like they started to move the ball.
They went for 35 yards. I mean, it's not like he ran the ball for 70 yards down the throw.
No, but he was running the ball well at that situation.
Okay,
he was. Oh man, we're gonna keep doing this. All night. We have so many more comments to get to. Scott, they need some professional wide receivers next year and a real pass rusher. I mean, Matt Judon has a real pass rusher this season now. They've got a obviously decision to make there. The word is that they're going to use the franchise tag to keep him around. That sets his market, and that says they're going to be paying him a boatload of money. And this is one of the things that we look back on and I say, like, hey, I think the Ravens are going to be competitive year in and year out. But part of the reason why I say you never know is that part of what was working here was a window. Yes. They had a window where they didn't have to pay their quarterback a boatload of money. Now, the good news is they also still had dead money that counted towards Joe Flacco, and that'll come off the cap next year.
And they still have 3 years of that.
They won't.
They'll have 2 years.
They'll have 2 years.
Okay, well, that's
fine.
They'll
have 2 years of that.
That's fine. They still have 2 years.
There's just no world in which they're going to...
I know. The fifth-year option, blah, blah, blah.
Right. That won't happen. They will 100% end up having to pay Lamar Jackson by the time they get to that fifth year. But... they do still have 2 years of that, and it might lead to them saying, hey, in another year we might not make this type of decision with Matt Judon, but we're going to do it right now.
Correct.
Because we think we can get out of it down the road if that's what we have to do.
By the way, real quick, Eric, I don't have a lot of salt on my pot. I'm really not upset about the loss. It's disappointing to me. It's the way. It's the way. If this is your first time listening to KZ about John Harbaugh, then this is not new. This is not new.
Josh, the Drake curse lives.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's a thing.
It is a thing.
John Proctor, well, happy birthday to Corey effing Davis. Yeah, well, it was his birthday, so there's that. Casey Willett, what's up, buddy? Casey Willett reminded me a little of the Ravens-Colts playoff game. Of course, Casey was covering the team then and knew that feeling quite well. I'm not going to respond to one of the things that you said, Casey. I'm just going to leave that alone. You and I both know how we feel about that.
I know.
Paul, do you have a gut feeling on whether or not Yonda comes back? I don't. I got to be honest with you. The more people I talk to about it, I did not get the sense. Ray Lewis was not really hiding his final season, that it was his final season. He didn't tell the public, and he didn't make an announcement even to the entire team. But there was a gut feel. They did a pretty good job of protecting it. Now, it might just be that, again, everybody on the team has done a really good job of protecting it again this year, but in talking to people around them, I haven't gotten a gut that, like, it's a sort of fait accompli that he just hasn't announced yet.
Right.
Look, Marshall Yonda was brilliant all season. Yep. He played, Hall of Fame. I talked about this. He was so good this year that it seemed like a guy that knew it's really hard for a guard to get into the Hall of Fame. I can't leave any doubt. I have to be so dominant, so deep in my career that when they walk into that room, they can't not put me in because their inclination with the guard is not put you in.
Right.
Just to say, we'll deal with it some other time. He was playing like a dude that was trying to redefine the end of his career. That's how good he was. So, if he's just decided he's good, look, Marshall's got a lot of kids, does not like, all the attention.
It's not like, he's had some injuries.
Yep.
And,
if he just decides he's good, he decides he's good.
What your body feels like,
But from a football level, there's no reason for Marshall Young to be walking away at the moment. The defense is lacking playmakers and linebackers. The offense is lacking a big receiver or two. That's from Paul.
Okay. Well.
Richard, Henry's pass was a brilliant call and play. It was a very good play. It was outstanding. Nobody's arguing with that. That was excellent.
No.
Brandon, anything to be said about this? They were so used to Lamar bailing them out and relying on raw talent versus strategic decisions. When that didn't happen, the decisions are exposed a bit. Absolutely, I think there's something to that.
That's 100% fair.
I don't even know what part of it I would slightly disagree with.
I'm not going to disagree with it, except that, again, they went away from way too early. Very little RPO, very little Ricard and doubling up with Ricard, and maybe I know Boyle got hurt, but with Hurst, coming off the edge and things like that, there was just. And I know the Titans did some things that, they crashed their safeties on the edge every single play, and they spied Lamar as well. And they did some different things, but, safeties crashing on the edge can be blocked, and I just don't think we went after them, and I don't think there was any adjustment to ever adjust to what the Titans were doing. It was one of these things that, here's our game plan for this game, and it just didn't, and I want to give the Titans credit, but at the same time, it just didn't look like any game I've seen this year from the Ravens. The RPOs they disappeared too quick. Their motion, how much? I mean, on their fourth and one plays. Like, since when don't we use motion? Since when don't we use jumbo with three guys in the backfield?
Right, and that goes back to my. I have way more issue with that than I did the decision making.
I have issue with both. John Coulson just said no Heisman package. I mean, there was no.
I don't know if I wanted to do that.
I know, but there was no creativity. I mean, Justice Hill. Looked to be coming on the last couple of games. There were a couple of plays, wrinkles they put in. They didn't do that until the game was out of hand. Little swing pass to him, getting him in space that he took for a first down. I don't understand.
Mom spaghetti, man. Mom spaghetti.
I just do not understand, because this defense was they never saw this defense on tape. So what made them think that they couldn't use the RPO and they couldn't use the jumbo packages and things like that? It's so similar to the San Diego, whatever they're called.
The Chargers, yes, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Whatever, they're San Diego.
Right.
It's so similar. I mean, it feels so much worse, but it's so similar that, again, they just never adjusted to what the other team was doing. And when they came in with lighter people, we went away from jumbos.
I feel like we're saying the same thing in two different ways. I actually feel like what they're doing is they are adjusting with unnecessarily. They're unnecessarily deciding, and this is what I keep going back to. I don't know what conversation we'd be having if they don't have the interception on the first drive. I don't know what conversation we're having. The problem is they just seem to constantly overreact in these moments.
At 14-6.
I'm with you, Cam.
Why? I can't understand. I don't. Why? Why don't you play Ravens
but again,
football?
They largely moved the ball down the field again on that first drive to start the second half. They put themselves in a 4th and 1, and it was just all over. It was all over. Patrick, I don't put this on what?
John also just told us to
what Michael Pierce is wearing. It's a very Veruca salt. It definitely.
I went.
Turning violet.
Turning violet. Yeah.
Patrick, I don't put this on Lamar. Henry is a flat-out stud. The Titans kept the Ravens' offense off the field by running the ball. Defense couldn't stop their run game. Give Titans their due with defensive game plan. They had 2 guys shadowing Lamar anytime he ran the ball. Golden rule, kick the 2 field goals, never leave points on the field. They kicked the 2 field goals. Well, one wasn't a field goal. One
No,
they were on their own side of the field.
They passed up the field goal to make it 14-9.
Right. There was one field goal they could have kicked. The other one they would have been punting in that situation.
Yes, they would have punted.
I sort of get your point, but it's different when you're talking about points on the field versus these things. Patrick, again, as Ken pointed out, the story today didn't become Derrick Henry really until the second half of the game. The Ravens allowed Derrick Henry to be the story of the game. It wasn't shoved down their throats and forced down them. They allowed Derrick Henry to be the story based on things that occurred. Now, once the second 4th and 1 occurred, clearly, the story after that point was Derrick Henry. From John Proctor, Lamar had 59 pass attempts and 20 carries. Ingram had 6 carries. Gus Edwards, who had 100-plus against a better defense 2 weeks ago, had 6.
Yeah.
All right, I got nothing.
Yeah.
AJ, Colin Kaepernick is a better playoff quarterback than Lamar Jackson.
That was my stop.
Oh,
just stop.
I don't know what that...
Whatever.
I don't know what the point of it is.
Whatever. They both have the same amount of Super Bowl wins. Moving on.
That part is also true. You're right about that.
Okay.
I don't really know how.
Well, I don't know where he's going.
That's the thing. There's
I don't know where he's going with it.
World. I have no idea. If you're trying to suggest the Ravens should cut Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I don't know where that's part of the conversation.
We got nothing. Apparently, the number was actually 3 for Edwards. Three.
He had 3 touches all game.
Dude runs the ball for 6 yards every time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, all the things, this will be really frustrating to me. I will forever. This is not quite Zach Britton in the Toronto, but there will forever be this. What happened? I just want to know.
Why?
I want to know, but because part of it I get. Part of it is I just think you panicked. That's what it is. But everything until that point, I want to know. What was the story with Mark Ingram and being hurt, and why it is you decided it was Mark Ingram's night? Were you completely sold that he was healthy? Did he convince you he was healthy? Did you think about, hey, maybe we would just be better suited making this a Gus Edwards game and have Mark Ingram if we need him? Like, what? I would like to know some of those conversations as the game went on. I was confident the Mark Ingram thing wasn't going to doom the Baltimore Ravens because Gus Edwards is really effing good.
Once he had his calf wrapped again, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's
coaches. Somebody needs to step in and say, you know what? I got 100% Gus Edwards, and I got even if you're at 75, I'll take my 100% Gus Edwards and let's go play.
John Harbaugh is not that smart of a coach. He always seems to get outcoached in big games. I agree with Bernard Pollard. Oof, boy, I don't know if that's the hill to die on.
Let's not. He's bitter. I'm not a.
AJ's having a field day. Eric Arditi. Look, I love you, Eric. I'll let you come on Monday. You can, maybe Tuesday. I might need another day until I allow you your space to.
What's he saying?
He's just a Titans fan that's having fun.
I love you. Congratulations.
I love you, Eric. You're, of course, a friend of ours.
Congratulations. They outplayed the Ravens.
They were great. They were
terrific. Great game plan.
Well coached.
How the Ravens? Shame on the Ravens for allowing.
And I did not. You know what?
Come in here
specifically, I did not respect their defense enough. Specifically, their defense
with their fastest linebacker
was up to the challenge. I did not respect them enough. I will give you that. AJ Lamar's never. Oh God, we're just doing that. He did say I was right, and so I was encouraged by it. He said, Glenn is right, stop it with... And I was like, yeah, and then I heard of the rest of it. I'm like, all right. Brandon, if the same performance was Joe Flacco instead of Lamar, the whole thing would have been Flacco's fault. With Lamar, it's everyone else's fault. It's usually all of their faults. There's some truth to that. There's some truth to that, but the reality is that's in part because Lamar is better than Joe Flacco. Look, I'm a Joe Flacco defender.
Yes,
people get mad at me.
You are.
Part of the reason why that exists is because Lamar is better. But he's better than everybody. He's better than, this isn't me trashing Joe Flacco. No. It's Lamar is better than just about everybody. And so we're more inclined to give him a pass when he struggles.
I'm not giving him a pass. I don't want to give him a pass. He didn't play his best game today. Period. It's not a pass. I mean, there were throws. Yes, I fully said. I said it first. Was the Andrews throw perfect? No. Was the throw to Seth to Willie Snead behind him? Yes. Professional receiver.
That was his worst throw.
That was his worst throw.
That was his worst throw.
Catch the ball.
Well, it wasn't his worst throw. There were a couple balls that fluttered it.
There were flutters, but some of them were completed. You couldn't have dropped. You couldn't have walked. I couldn't have walked up and dropped the ball into Davis's hand any better.
This is how long we've been going. I need you to unplug my power charger and throw it to me because my computer's about to die. We're doing a long post game. This is what happens the last game of the season.
Yeah,
right. This is the way it is.
I was asked before I left when I'd be home. I was like, you never know.
Tonight
we got more.
I was really thinking too about next week being one of those weeks where like after I invite everybody to come to the studio afterwards and hang out and get drunk with us. Like I was already having those visions. Josh Soroka, who lives in northern Florida, is going to drive to the Pro Bowl now. Yeah, okay, enjoy. Ryan's mad at you. John Harbaugh would have been hired by the Panthers last year. Yeah, I mean, he would have. He's right about that. Good.
He could have lost to the playoffs for them too.
John Proctor wants to go curling. So do I, pal. Let's make that happen. You know what, Soroka, come up here so we can go curling. Paul, outside of the Wolfpack, feel like special teams was not up to usual Raven standards overall throughout the season. How much of that do you attribute to Jerry Rosberg's absence, or it's just a talent issue? We saved that 4th-round comp pick, though. Who was it? Oh, it was... God, I've already forgotten the guy's name.
What? Who?
Who is the guy that was playing really well on special teams they just got rid of so they could protect the comp pick?
Trudeck?
No, that's the...
is it the other guy?
Who the hell was that guy? I can't believe I can't think of this guy's name.
I don't pay attention to who plays special teams because special teams is insignificant.
Justin Bethel.
Justin
Bethel was his name.
That was a great sign.
Justin Bethel. Well, it was. He was tremendously helpful on special teams. You know what? This is where I'm going to beat you up.
You're not going to beat me up.
You constantly diminish special teams. What happened tonight?
Nothing.
No, bull-ass.
Nothing.
He's absolutely right about this.
What happened with special teams tonight that made any impact?
How about when Anthony Thomas waved for the ball and then decided he could go block anyway, and it cost him 15 yards?
What does that have to do with Bethel? He wouldn't be near the play.
Well, that one he might have been down to actually help block.
Oh, my God. Come on, stop it.
That one he might have.
Stop it. That's a dumb play by a guy that should know better.
It was stupid.
That has nothing to do with Bethel. They didn't give up anything in the return games at all. Anytime they ever give something out is because Harbaugh tells the kicker they can hit it in third row to kick it short.
What was the other play? They had another penalty. What was the other penalty tonight? What was the other penalty?
What does that have to do with Bethel being
No. What was the other penalty? What was the other hold on special teams?
They had a hold.
Was that what it was? It was
a hold.
Inside the...
Yeah. They would have had a touchback, but they moved it back to 10 because they had a hold.
Look, man, I'm not telling you.
Special teams outside of
the
punter, kicker, and long snapper are insignificant.
This is a hill you've chosen to die on, and I'm not with you on that.
The NFL has decided that special teams isn't as important. You can't block anymore. Stop. You have the best directional punter in the league. You have a guy in Tucker who can kick the ball out of bounds anytime he wants. Out through the end zone anytime he wants. And we're signing special teams guy and everybody's celebrating. You're signing special teams guys because your coach only knows special teams because he has nothing to...
No.
He has
every
no
team signs special teams.
Wrong. Oh, my God.
Every team signs special teams guys.
Outside of Slater in New England, nobody signs special teams guys.
Every team signs guys for roles that are special teams. You're wrong about that.
Guy in the entire
You've decided this is the way that things are, so you're not listening.
You're wasting money.
What does it even mean? They're wasting money.
God, you're wasting. Go sign another cornerback that can play football.
And then piss games away in the special teams.
What game if they pissed away? They're 14-2, and today
I've decided
how much was tell me the significance that Bethel would have made on this football team.
Very helpful tonight. God, what are we doing?
You're talking about special teams. That's what you're doing.
This is a good point. This was Paul. This was not me. This is Paul from Orlando.
You're agreeing with him.
I do agree with him. I thought it was stupid then. I thought it was stupid then to decide that a player that was genuinely helping your football team was something that you would just say.
Now that they've lost, would you rather have Bethel on the football team or the 4th-round pick?
I don't know. They would have lost.
You won't be.
I don't know.
You're on a different hill.
No, I'm not dying on it because I'm saying I don't know. I'm not making a strong statement, unlike you.
Okay.
I'm not sure what this means. Ryan said Mark Ingram doesn't need it anymore. What does that mean?
Yeah, I
don't know what that means. What is that? Ryan, I love you. I just don't know what that.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. Andrew, you're right. Harbs didn't have his team ready to go. Players didn't execute. It was all bad. Wasted a great season. Nothing to show for it.
All fair.
That's fair. I don't understand any of these things. To show for it. Ryan does make a good point about this.
Get a better draft pick now.
Ryan does make a good point about this. He says, is there any chance the Ravens now lose one of their coordinators to Cleveland?
No.
What do you mean no? You don't think there's any chance the Browns could hire Greg Roman?
I don't think
that's who they were interested in.
I think Greg Roman is too smart to go to that clown.
Totally disagree with that. I don't think it's about whether or not it's too smart. I think that's us saying dumb things. I'm not guaranteeing that he will, even if they'd offer. I can't guarantee that. But I think it's a dumb thing for us to say. There's only the idea that there will just always forever be jobs that you can always get.
Greg Roman from tonight or Greg Roman was 14-2.
Well, I mean, they were looking for that one.
Which one did they get?
Well, that's what they're hoping they're going to get. It's the Browns, so I assume none of it's going to work.
Which one's going? If it's the Greg Roman tonight, they can have him.
Yeah,
they can have him. If it's the one that had this dynamic offense that's changing the game, I really would like him to stay.
Marty Bass looks great. I can't believe. How old is Marty Bass?
Yeah, he's old.
I would give anything to look like that when I'm Marty Bass's age. I don't know a lot of things. He looks great, man. Look, I'm not telling you. I have no idea what the Browns want to do, but the point being that because the Ravens are out, it would make it more likely. Most teams want to have their staffs in place by the Senior Bowl, which is next week. If the Ravens had won the AFC Championship game, their staff wouldn't be available for the Senior Bowl. Now, if they wanted to hire Greg Roman, they could do that on Monday. He would have a week to put the staff together and then be down at the Senior Bowl scouting. Now, does that mean they're going to do it? Does that mean he would definitely take the job? The only thing I disagree with is the thing where we say, oh, it's stupid, he knows better, and everybody's going to tell him he'd be dumb to take the job. They're going to say, hey, look, man, look around, read the tea leaves. It hasn't been exactly a great circumstance for everyone, but it's also a head coaching job in the NFL, and there's only 32 of them, and if you want to do this, you might just take the job because it might be your chance to get one. John Colson, hello, John Colson, says, KZ, you are a biased mess when it comes to John Harbaugh.
I agree, and I'm back. Y'all missed me this year? He had a good year. I'm never again. I don't care if he wins his next 7 Super Bowls in a row.
Brian Powell says we might want to start wrapping up because there are storms coming in. Well, I can drive in the rain. I can
drive in the rain. Oh
I
will
God. Say the rest of you that probably imbibed a little bit too much and are pretty angry about the circumstance, please be careful.
Please be careful. We get more and more people listening by the minute. By the way,
it is incredible. John Cole.
John Cole.
Is that your real name, John? I'm struggling with that. But it's Cole, C-O-A-L. That's why I'm struggling with it. Credit the Titans. Their defense was tough, and we scored very few points. The 2 fourth-down stops, major plays at important times. They deserve to win. Agree on all that. That's probably what John Harbaugh said when he met with the media tonight. Agree on all of it, though. I specifically did not give the Titans defense enough credit. I really looked at what they had done down the stretch and said they weren't that good, and then thought that last week was specifically a story of them getting to face a Patriots team that was flat-out bad. That being said, they were great tonight. They were great tonight when they needed to be great. When they needed to be great, they were great tonight.
I looked at I did the same thing. I looked at who they played down the stretch. The only reason they even made the playoffs is because the Texans didn't want to play the last week because they had nothing to play for.
Right.
I looked at who they beat. Didn't beat anybody. Who they lost to, any good team, and the Ravens were a good team. They lost to, and it wasn't close. And I said, I don't think they're that good. They're 9-7 for a reason.
No, I thought they were. I give a lot of credit to Derrick Henry, right?
Derrick Henry's a tremendous player.
Monster.
But again, I didn't think much of the Patriots this year.
Right.
I thought,
and I was willing to dismiss what they did because of it.
As well as they played, as well, I kept on going the bit where Henry was great and they played a great game, yet they scored 14 offensive points. Well, if you come into Baltimore and score all 14 offensive points, you're going to lose. Didn't turn out to be true with either account, but
William just says flat out choke. Nobody's going to disagree with that either. That's the reality of it. The reality is that's what this team is. I regret putting this into the world the other day. We had a conversation when Drew was in on Friday where I said, somebody messaged me. I've talked a lot about how my third favorite Ravens team of all time is the 2008 team. Because it was just so wildly unexpected.
Yes.
Going into that year, my bet was they were going to win 3 games. Mm-hmm. They were going to get their asses handed to them. Right. It was going to be a miserable season. They were going to start moving towards a future of the franchise that wouldn't involve Ray Lewis after that point. Obviously, everybody remembers he was going into free agency. I thought that 2008 was going to be a disaster. As it turns out, it ended up being a very special season in which they came 1 game short of making the Super Bowl. And so because it was so wildly unexpected, what they did that year, I have this, and it also involves some of those moments, clearly the Dallas game being the one that will stand out as one of the great wins in the history of the franchise.
Absolutely.
So because of that, I have this great affinity for the 2008 Ravens. It's maybe not quite the Why Not Orioles, but like it's of that ilk.
Right. It's
of that
like that,
ilk,
yes.
the affinity that I have for the 2008 Ravens. So I had somebody message me and said, hey, in speaking of that, I wonder how you would feel about this year's Ravens if they were to lose in the playoffs, right? So we had this, I don't even remember who emailed me, and I apologize for that, but I brought it up on Friday's show, and I said, how would we feel about this team? And we made the immediate comparison to 2006. We're like, the only feeling we have at all about the 2006 Ravens is what happened in the playoffs.
Correct.
It's the only feeling we have.
Correct.
Nobody can tell you a single thing that occurred during the regular season 13 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can remember a single moment, a single game. I vaguely remember that Matt Stover made like a 52-yard kick early on in the season to win a game at the buzzer. I don't remember who it was against, but it was when we had sort of started to think that maybe Matt Stover was moving into the twilight of his career and couldn't make 50-yard kicks anymore.
Right.
And so it was a really cool moment. I have a vague memory of that. That's literally the only memory at all that I have.
Yeah.
Now, the point that Kyle made was that the nature of Lamar being MVP will make that difference this season.
I agree with that.
Because he's MVP,
Yes.
because he's going to win MVP, we'll always remember that, and we'll remember he had spectacular moments during the course of the season.
Yes.
I'd like to think that we'll remember the Seattle-New England back-to-back thing. I'd like to think that 13 years from now, I'll think back and say, boy, that was a lot of fun. And remember, in the middle of the year, they went from being a team that we were like, I'm not so sure about, to being the best team in football in the span of 2 weeks. I'd like to think that I'll remember that, but I can't guarantee that I'll remember that.
Right.
There's no doubt this will be the story. In 13 years, when we talk about the 2019 Ravens, we will talk about the fact that they pissed the bed when they got to the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's the reality of who they are.
It is.
From John says that apparently what he thinks that Ryan meant was that he doesn't need that massager thing anymore. Okay, fair enough. I'd like it if somebody can get it to me. I'll have that around my house at all times. Tammy, need a physical linebacker, pass rusher, no pass rush. Also adds still room for improvement. Offense needs some new schemes. Loaded the box, cut off his lanes, forced him out wide. And a talent issue at middle linebacker, no physical backer, no C.J. Mosley. I don't know how physical C.J. Mosley was. I mean, he was a tackler. I'll give you that. He was a tackler. I mean, if that's what you mean by physical, sure, he was a tackler. He wasn't a thumper necessarily.
I don't think the linebackers were the issue today.
Well, let's also remember, it's not a team that's played linebackers a ton this season. Once their players were in the secondary, they said, we're going to put those guys more on the field. And that was, it was one of the things, the small whispers that we had around town this week that we kind of didn't spend much with was, this isn't really, the Ravens don't really want to put more linebackers on the field to go against Derrick Henry. They want to be the team that has 6 defensive backs on the field. They want to be the team that can have Brandon Carr, Jimmy Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Chuck Clark, Earl Thomas all on the field at the same time. That's who they want to be as a football team. Marcus Peters, Jesus, I keep listening, guys.
That's okay.
That's who they want to be. They don't want to be the team that puts more linebackers on the field. So, yeah, I mean, they definitely have a need at linebacker. They've decided they're going to bring back L.J. Fort next season, but they need to find something. When teams do want to run the ball more, they absolutely need to find a more consistent run-stopping linebacker. Now, this is an ebb and flow of the NFL thing, right? Are there going to be more teams that look at the fact that running teams had so much success this season and say, we want to be more, one of the teams that was hiring a coach brought that up this week. It might have been the Giants. It said, the league would suggest right now the teams that are having the most success are the best running teams. So we need to be more of a running team moving forward, right? Like, will that be the next thing that occurs in the NFL? A lot of people thought that, after Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl when they couldn't move the ball at all offensively, that teams would go back to trying to be all defense. I don't know.
Who knows?
Jonathan, typical Harbs game, our coaches and team not ready to play. There you go. That's your guy. That's what?
Guy.
That's probably the best way to go out on this.
That's my
probably
guy.
the best way to go out.
Well said, Jonathan.
A better way for us to go out tonight is that this is going to be painful.
Ooh.
I still ask that you support the Bradley and Nikki Bozeman Foundation and the wonderful work they're doing. They are going to deal with the sting of this, and the way they're going to deal with it is they're going to get in an RV, and they are going to drive all over the country, and they are going to go to schools, go one-on-one with these kids, and try to get them to stop bullying each other. And we want to lift them up by donating some money, and so we're selling this MVP's T-shirt, the Most Valuable Protectors. It's very cool. The offensive line was great all season, and we're going to keep selling them. $25. You can get it in white or gray, and then we got a hoodie available for $30. So go get yours right now, BozemanShirt.com. Do we trade shirts now? Is that what we do now that we're into the season? Do we do the jersey swap? You and I? Is that the way this works? I'll sign yours. You sign mine.
Should have worn my HWO shirt.
I'm good. Good. All right. At Fans Fantasy on Twitter is how you follow him.
Yes.
I'm at Glenn Clark Radio. You'll start thinking towards the NFL draft.
Well, we're still doing a little DFS and stuff like that with fantasy, but yes, NFL draft are around the corner, and lots of stuff coming with that. So
we'll be
not the night we had planned.
We'll be shifting gears ourselves on Glenn Clark Radio. This is look, man. I had a lot of plans for the next couple of weeks, and this was not that. No. So we're gonna have to dive back in and do something different moving forward.
I get to avoid the big Super Bowl party that I told my son he could throw at our house.
Oh yeah, you had promised him that.
Yes,
you think he's still gonna try to get you to throw a party?
No, I told him it's only if the
Ravens are in.
Yeah,
all right, fair enough. So we'll be doing. We will be doing some draft coverage. We'll be doing a lot of off-season talk. There's a lot of decisions, obviously, for the Ravens. It starts with the Matt Judon thing. We'll see about Jimmy Smith. Those are some of the bigger ones that stand out for the Ravens. They need to figure out how they. I mean, look, the things you guys are bringing up, the wide receiver thing, we're all in agreement. They got to get better at wide receiver. Period.
Got to continue to go through a draft, and it wouldn't hurt to have a solid veteran presence in that room.
It's something that, I mean, by solid veteran presence, I'm not thinking of the guy that you're pulling off the scrap heap at the end.
No,
getting a real wide receiver when free agency opens, deciding that maybe every now and then it's okay to sign a wide receiver, that actual free agent wide receiver, not a guy that everybody else doesn't want anymore.
Not the 33-year-old guy that is on his last couple years. No.
Yep. But we'll be talking about that on Glenn Clark Radio back on Monday, and I'm at Glenn Clark Radio. All right, that'll do it. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out all throughout the course of the season. I love doing these shows. Thanks to Rita. Thanks to Eric Arditi for coming in here in the weeks. Thanks to Ken. It's been a lot of fun all throughout the season. Until tonight. Really fun.
It's been a great season till tonight.
I'll see you on Monday for Glenn Clark Radio. This has been the Project Game Day postgame show from the Live Casino Hotel Studio.